Hello, everybody. Jay Rhymes here with the Periodic Review. We hope you're all having an incredible day. Hopefully, we'll earn your subscription today, so don't forget to like and subscribe on everything. Don't forget to share with family and friends, as well as turn on notifications so that you don't miss a content release. You can now send us all of your topic ideas, cool videos, or interesting clips to theperiodicreview@gmail.com. Now, just a quick little thing for you guys. So we have decided that we're going to start live streaming again. We're trying to find a new home since we are having some difficulty with the whole censorship thing and talking about important topics that seem to like to be throttled or censored. So we are looking to find a new home. We think Rumble might be it. So definitely let us know in the chat. The first thing we're going to do is talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. Now, we kind of switched our topics around from when we created the title for this particular podcast. So the first thing we're gonna talk about is actually talk a little bit about how the government is on a spending spree, bailing out banks that have lost a lot of money in their investments. We'll talk a little bit about the federal spending budget proposed for 2024, which is upwards of $6.8 trillion. Almost double of what taxes that came in for 2001. So that's going to be interesting to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence, how that's going to be really interesting for the entertainment business, as well as how that can be very detrimental for society, especially with where we're at in social media. And then lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about the Nashville shooter. Very, very sad. Obviously, our thoughts and prayers go out to the families that are affected by it. It's very, very sad, but it's definitely a topic we need to talk about, especially everything that's going on in the legacy media realm. So thank you guys so much for checking us out today. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit. We're going to do about 8 or 10 minutes, kind of talking a little about what's been new in our week, and then we'll jump into the topics. We will start with Miss Rianne. If you want to tell us a little bit about what's been up with you this week, and we'll go round robin.
I'm just working my job that I love. I'm trying really hard not to sink into the couch because I was chastised.
All I asked is that you just sit up and be present.
Attentive. I was present last time. I just was
we just couldn't see you in the camera.
Chill way. I was vibing, okay?
We know that you're present. It's so funny because every episode we can like move the camera over to you, and it's like at the top of the hour you'll be sitting up like you are now,
and then I'm down.
By the end of the episode it's just like, or throughout the episode you slowly start
sink into the couch.
It's funny. It's
my trademark, okay? That's just the way it is.
So, yeah.
I crack up every time I switch to the camera. I was like.
It looks like we have the jittery camera back again.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's happening with yours and Kai's too.
Oh, that's not good.
Well,
we'll figure that out another time. Apologize for the technical difficulties, but we'll
for now watch
keep on going.
Just pretend you're at a rave.
Well, the audio listeners also won't really care all that much.
True. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good call.
And we're here for everyone, either way.
Maybe it's just my dynamic energy.
Well, you do have dynamic energy.
Just kidding.
All right, Rianne, what's up?
That's it. I'm working.
All right, Mr. Bryson, what's new in your world, sir?
Well, this last week I did a presentation for the radio station for the school's Festival of Excellence. So it kind of showcases things that we've done for the semester, and so I got to show off some graphics and animation stuff that I did, and so that was cool. Apparently the dean of the college really liked it, so that was pretty sick. And then also I had a job interview for another position at our work, for the QA position.
I hope you get it. I really hope you get it.
Me too.
Well, tell us about the position. What's up? Is it a promotion?
Sort of. It's a QA position. So I would be working a bit more with HR and our training department, being a bit more behind the scenes rather than making calls directly like I would if it was necessary, but it'll be a lot more reviewing calls, helping interview people, training. So some new stuff like that. But yeah,
Is it
I'm
a pay
excited.
raise?
I do not know. I didn't ask.
I would assume that it would be.
Yeah, I
but-
would assume too. Based on looking it up online, just on average what our company pays for QAs, it seems that it would, but they didn't specify, and I only had the initial interview, which wasn't very long, and usually the initial interview I don't ask.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sending good juju your way. Then.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Good vibes.
I think you'd be great in that position too.
Thank you.
As someone that knows what it is, I think you'd be great.
Mm-hmm. Right, Kai, what's new with you?
This week's been busy, dude. Like, just not like back-to-back assignments, just very consistently. So, yeah, just a lot of schoolwork. Bryson and I are actually going to be going. This is next week, but we'll be taking another radio station tour and career fair
That's true.
thing down in Las Vegas this time.
Mm-hmm.
So
What?
it'll be nice to get out of Cedar City and out of Utah in general.
True.
Um,
We're all going to convince Ryan that we can go to a bar. No, I'm kidding.
I don't know how much he would be up for that.
Probably not, but I think
Yeah.
that'd be hilarious to just bring up the idea.
Yeah, well, we'll probably bring it up anyway,
Yeah.
just to make fun. But what else is new? Not really anything else. This week's just been busy. Like, assignments have been back to back. I feel like finals and like
Oh, they're creeping up.
they're creeping up, but like at the same time they're kind of starting early. I feel like this month is just focused on
Oh, yeah.
like finals. Like most of my final stuff is happening this week.
Mhm.
Like, excuse me, we kind of already had like our final presentation, well, kind of like a final presentation for our nonverbal class.
Mhm.
I know we still got like another few exams in that class, but yeah, just a lot of stuff coming up with that. So yeah, I started putting together my LinkedIn account again. Like I was like, I should probably get back on this kind of stuff. So
I know I've started
Working on that
connecting
again.
with a lot of people on that. It's kind of cool.
yeah, it's interesting. I haven't really gotten used to it yet, but I'm
Mhm.
working on figuring it out. So I try not to spend as much time on my phone as I used to. So
Smart.
I'm never really like doing that kind of stuff, but we're trying now.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that's pretty much all I got.
All right. Jacob, what about you?
Right on. So, yeah, I'm trying to figure out like how to balance like work and looking for a new job and all that fun stuff. I'm feeling so much better. Like I'm so happy that like I'm not coughing up like phlegm and like gross like mucus. That lasted way too long, honestly. Like I was sick for like seemingly for almost a week, and then it's like dragged on for almost like a whole month, and I'm just like, ugh. So I'm really hoping that my voice is like gonna be 100% soon, but like I feel fine, but it just sucks. Unfortunately, one of my coworkers was sick all last week, so last week it was like, I wasn't getting off until like 5-6 o'clock in the evening, so it was kind of a long week for me. I didn't really get to focus a lot on the content creation and working on the podcast and kind of getting that stuff going. So I had to do a lot of it yesterday after work and then today. So I got all caught up though. You guys got 10 clips coming out next week. So that's really exciting. The new TikTok channel, if you guys haven't, added it already, it's Periodic Review 2 on TikTok. That's our new one. We're going to put all of our clips up for now until they they either ban us into in existence or they actually allow us to play ball on that particular social media site. But I really enjoy it. Like it's it's really entertaining. Hopefully they'll get everything all figured out through the whole Congress stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't pull too much power, because seemingly from the from the stuff that's coming out from the legislation and the law and stuff, like there's a little too much power in it.
It's like the freaking Patriot Act on steroids.
for social media.
And I am like, nope. Let's create a crisis so we can present ourselves as the solution.
It doesn't look like we're live on Rumble. That's not good.
Well,
We're
we're live on YouTube at least.
We're live on everything else though, so that's good.
Figure out Rumble.
Hit multi-stream for me. You can see everybody on multi-stream except for Rumble. So I don't know what happened there. I apologize, everybody who is expecting us to be on Rumble. That sucks.
Totally forgot. I had something else. I totally didn't think of it until just now.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
There's an update on the whole Holland thing. They,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you guys, Rianne saw. I don't know if you saw, Jacob, but they went ahead and they're deciding to keep him as speaker. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's not surprising, especially if that they're, everybody in leadership there is, religious.
well, I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I feel like it might be. I feel like it's more of a money thing. I'm not surprised either. I am very disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's the vibe that everyone kind of has right now. I think the thing is, like, I'm sure that Benson was advised against this. And this was the decision that they had in place for months.
Mm-hmm. In fairness, a lot of it is not just her. It's their board of trustees that mainly appoint the commencement speaker.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of hard because I feel like Mindy Benson kind of wants to revert that decision, but because it's not just up to her, and there's a lot of factors to it, I'm sure that's what kind of plays into it.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the way that they. I'm not a fan of the email that they sent out. Just the way that they put it together. I feel like there's just a lot of stuff that they're hiding. If they were totally honest about, I don't get the vibe that they're being 100% honest about why he's the speaker. And if they were, I would at least respect a little bit more. But I just feel like it's more of a money thing. And I've also, like, Southern Utah University is also not a super LDS community at all. And
Cedar City is.
Cedar City is, yeah. But also church attendance down in this area has started to go down. Excuse me. Church attendance has gone down, and
but that's the case in every religion,
right? But it's especially gone down here, and I think that the church has definitely noticed that, and that's why they're. I think that's like one of the big things that's going on here. But then again, I don't know. I'm not a politician. I'm not a school administrator. I don't know. That's just me spitballing. Shit on my mind. So. Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. That's a good update. That's a good update because we've kind of talked about that the last like 2 or 3 episodes. So that was a good update. So thank you for that. All right. So the first topic we're going to talk about today, kind of switched it up like I was saying at the beginning. We're going to talk a little bit about the government bailing out banks and what's been going on with that, and especially with our very exciting federal spending budget for 2024. This is one of those things that affects everybody, and I think it's really interesting when politicians, especially our president, says, "Oh yeah, we're going to have all these wonderful programs, and it's not going to cost a penny or a dime to the masses." So Rianne and I were watching his speech from, was it Philadelphia, I want to say? It was in Philadelphia where he was speaking to the people there, talking about very, very briefly skimming over his budget and saying all these wonderful things that he's done for us over the past going on 4 years, right?
Wonderful.
And how he has, like, brought the most
2 years,
the most jobs back of any president ever in history, which is interesting because he's counting people going back to work as, creating jobs. But, I don't
know if wonderful is the word I would use to describe him. Taking
a lot of credit for the previous administration's economic stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So let's talk a little bit about this because it is going to affect everybody. And unfortunately, the more the government spends, the more money they're going to ask for in return because...
And
that's where tax evasion comes into place.
Well, so here's the thing. They've written the tax... Okay. Politicians have written the tax code so that it benefits their most major benefactors, which are big companies. And this is true on both sides. This isn't like, it's just the government corruption. with that being said, anytime there's additional spending, they say they're going to tax the rich, but what really happens is they end up putting the tax on the upper middle class, which is not that much upper, or the which puts them further and closer to poverty, which creates a further gap, because all the freaking rich people pay people, accountants and everything, to set things up so that they don't have to pay taxes. All the rich people take advantage of it, and the politicians know it, because it's all the rich people that are basically writing all the laws. They pay the lobbyists to... Anyway.
Well, don't you remember the Trump Hillary debate?
Yeah.
Where he basically says, he's like,
yeah, I do. And so do all their friends.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, of course I take all those tax break advantages.
Yeah, but then also Trump also didn't take the typical salary of the president. Like, he didn't take his salary when he was president.
Right. Well, he didn't need it. I mean, he's made...
And he took a major loss the first 2 years he was president in all of his businesses.
Yeah.
So, to me, that says, okay, he's at least putting his money where his mouth is, where Biden... Anyway. The freaking government's correct. It's impacting pretty much 90% of the American population, and it's not getting any better. For instance, Alakai and Bryson, how does this impact you?
So, Bryson, you weren't here when I was telling Rhiannon and Jacob this earlier, but as far as housing and all that shit goes, I mean, cost of living. Bryson and I, our generation has kind of accepted, or not accepted, but we're definitely salty about it, and we're aware of it. Mm-hmm. We're never going to be able to afford a house.
Yeah, most of us will never own a home,
and a lot of us are in a massive amount of debt, and yeah,
and that's just to live.
Yeah, that's just to live. So
that's basic living too.
We've all accepted that it's just never going to happen. So I don't really look at a whole lot of housing now. I kind of look at places that are open for rent in different parts of the country, because I don't want to stay in Utah. So I'm looking for places to live constantly, but I'm never looking for houses to buy, because I already know it's so much of a, for lack of a better word, it's so much of a shit show that I don't really see any point of looking right now.
It's kind of
so are you assuming you're not going to get a job that will pay you lucratively or something?
I'm sure that I will at some point. I'm very hopeful, as I'll be graduating.
But housing just keeps going up.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's it's not necessarily the pay that needs to go up. It's I feel like it's just
kind of both. It's kind of both. Pay needs to go up.
Yeah.
The cost of living needs to come
back down. And the base pay for individuals that are just getting into their first job needs to go up, so that children going into college are not automatically in debt and then indentured to basically indentured servitude to the government, who's...
It's just modern day slavery.
So
and
basically,
yeah,
I mean, you could get there with that for sure.
Bryson and I both work pretty much full time. Would you say that you're fairly pretty much full time, Bryson? At our job?
Not at the moment, but for a while I was.
Okay. Well, either way, I do work full time, and I'm going to school full time, and our job only pays on average $15 an hour, and that's not very. It's not much for how much the cost of living is.
Yeah.
Here. We can get by, but that's all we can do is we can get by. Mm-hmm. And even then, we are still struggling. 2 days after I get my paycheck, I'll get a notification saying that my account has reached $0. And I'm like, well, shit, how am I going to buy groceries now?
Yeah.
How am I going to be able to pay for gas? It's really tough. Yeah, we've kind of accepted at this point. It's we're probably not going to see an age where we're able to comfortably live and afford housing. We kind of just know that we're going to be struggling quite a bit. And the people that aren't struggling are, I mean, they're already in debt and they probably just accepted it, or they have really comfortable paying jobs from, I don't know. If you have a very comfortable paying job and you can live as comfortably as you are, please tell us what you're doing and how you did it. Because
incomes.
we sure.
Please tell us your secrets.
If it's other than 2 incomes, because like I would prefer to like be independent and afford a place where I can just do my own thing. I prefer I would just prefer that. So if that's your lifestyle and you're able to afford your shit and you're able to handle your shit, please tell us how, and let us know what you're doing and how you got there. It would be very helpful.
So it's interesting when you said that you guys are getting paid around $15 an hour. Is that $15 an hour back in like the 1990s, early 2000s?
Would have been amazing.
Was great money.
Oh yeah.
Like I remember working in a cabinet factory for like $6.80 an hour. Like when I was like coming out of high school. I remember, being in a pest control, like a technician, making like $2,200, $2,600
Yeah.
a month, and that was great money back then.
Yeah.
That would probably be
Like-
the equivalent of like $4,000 a month.
Yeah.
Like right now.
And see, like a lot of college internships, like which are great if you get a chance to do an internship out of college, definitely do it. But I mean, at SUU, most of the internships are paying like
9.
Are you freaking kidding me?
$8.
It's 8
Yeah.
and 9.
Or like even I think I've seen it go as low as like $7.25 for some jobs. It's just for college internships, and I know there's that whole debate of like, should college students get paid at all if they're working for the school, and that's a whole debate in and of itself.
Yeah, because they're paying freaking tuition.
you're
Of course,
working-
they should get paid.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're
So-
working, you should get paid.
Well, yeah, but that's one of the arguments that's made a lot, is like a lot of the work that college students do, they kind of do as volunteer work anyway. So it's like, well,
unpaid scholarships.
yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah, so you can make that argument. I'll always find any excuse to pay college students more because we are struggling, and most of us just want a degree that'll give us some kind of comfortably paying job. Like the whole idea of even making $50K a year, that sounds like a dream to me.
Yeah.
Like I would be so thankful just for that.
Yeah, but even an individual making 50 or 60K a year is still,
It's still a struggle.
that's still a
Yeah,
struggle.
but
That's not like,
To us,
Yeah.
to us, that sounds amazing.
So
Because
yeah,
we only make like, how much would you say that you and I make a year? Like average employees like us. What do you think?
If you're working full time,
Did
probably
you do the math real quick?
a little bit over 20,000.
okay,
so-
so $15 an hour, working full times. It's like it's about 31,000
yeah,
a year.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I know for a fact I don't make 31,000 a year. I know for a fact that's not what I make. But
Yeah. But when like gas is like double, when like utilities like go up, when like your phone cost goes up, like everything goes up when inflation hits. When like government is overspending,
Food.
Dude, the fact
everything
that
goes up.
like a little while ago when I haven't bought eggs in a long time, but like when I was buying eggs, like the last time I bought a carton of like 18, I paid like $6 for that carton of 18
Yep.
eggs. I was like, this is some bullshit. But
Yeah. I remember when like loaves of bread were like 35, 45 cents a loaf.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're aging yourself right now, Jacob. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying though, like if those prices had
That
stuck
sounds
and then
amazing.
and you like get paid like what you're what you're
When-
worth, it'd be great.
I was having a discussion with one of my professors at the university he's a little bit older now. And I told him straight up, I was like, look, I got some beef with your generation, man, because y'all were paying like
Y'all suck.
no, we love y'all, but at the same time, like the fact that you were paying what you were paying and we're struggling, like where's the disconnect? Like what are we supposed to do? You know?
Yeah.
Like how, like a lot of us have, like Bryson and I don't really have this inspiration anymore, but a lot of kids in our generation have aspirations to, get married, raise a family.
Yeah.
And it's like, how are they supposed to do that if they're getting paid what they're getting paid now?
Yeah.
Like, how?
Yeah.
How? Like, it doesn't make any sense to
Okay,
me,
but so this is, I'm going to go a little deep on you here.
of course, that's what she said. He said.
That's what he said.
Sorry.
Okay, but a lot of it has to do with mindset. Okay, so I will be honest with you. I remember being in my early 20s thinking, oh man, if I made $50K a year, that would be amazing. I'd be so rich. It's all a matter of perspective. Now, what you do focus on does come into, like, that's what you bring into your reality. I can say that 100%. And so I think part of, like, I feel like they create a financial crisis so that people lose hope. They lose their drive to own anything or do anything. Like, I feel like that you guys are being subjected to, like, this whole, you guys will never be able to afford anything. So it kind of leaves you feeling maybe a little nihilistic, which sucks. Because I can feel that too, but I also have experience of 20 years on you guys where I've, like, seen a cycle. Because back in 2008, I was close to your age going through this and thinking, like, oh, this sucks.
Who's aging themselves now?
I know. I'm totally aging. Yes, I'm old.
Sorry. Just
But no, so if I could give you any piece of advice when it comes to, like, crises or perceived crises, don't let that impact what you want to do. Does that make sense?
So when you say what we want to do, are you referring to, like, what, like, our aspirations are as far as careers go, or are you talking
or the
about
kind of life you want to have?
Okay.
So you guys are saying, like, well, yeah, we've kind of resigned to the fact that we're never going to own a home. Well, I can see that.
That kind of attitude. You ain't gonna own
Whoa.
nothing. I'm just kidding.
I was not saying it that way. I was not being Karen.
That's sort of the meaning, but you just didn't,
No.
you were saying
You're
it
just
nicer.
saying it very kindly,
Yeah.
but
No, it's not, and it's not
Well,
an
let's
attitude.
let her speak. I want to hear what
It's-
she's
It's
okay.
not an attitude necessarily. It is a perception. And based off of the experience, I can understand why you have that perception, because it's one that I have had in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have had enough experience to know that what you focus on and what you do want. So is what I'm saying is, don't let your outside circumstances necessarily dictate the life you create for yourself.
Yeah.
Because everything is possible.
Yeah.
And so if you do want to own a home, it'll be possible. Like, things will align, things will work out, right? Like, it just happens. If you stick to, like, okay, that may be the case right now, but I know that this is what I want in the future.
Yeah.
Or this is the life I want.
Yeah.
Or these are the experiences I want.
mindset and positive thinking are important, but I think coupling that also with hard work. Like,
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you have to
kick
take
ass.
action.
Like, get out there and
Going
kick
to-
ass. You know?
So I will say, like, experiences like what Bryson and I had up in Salt Lake, and hopefully what we'll be experiencing in Vegas, like, it gives me some kind of hope, because we see these companies that are like, oh yeah, this is what we're looking for, and then, like, I'm sitting there listening to all this, and I'm just like, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I mean, that gives me some kind of hope.
See, that's what I'm
But-
trying to say is, like, don't let the current circumstance or your current circumstances blind you to possibilities. Because it could be, I mean, there's money in communications,
Oh, yeah.
right? So you
Here-
could own a home. You could eventually own a really nice ass home.
I think on average, a lot of PR agents make like 6 figures. So I mean,
Yeah.
like,
And if you own, like, 6 figures, like, yeah, you can own a decent home with 6 figures as a salary. Providing they stop raising the interest rate. 'Cause that's what freaking
I
kills
mean,
it.
Yeah.
That's the feds. Anyway.
I would really, really like to experience what it is like to not have to worry about finances.
Okay, so
'Cause it's
focus
like-
on that.
Because every single week every goddamn week. Sorry, Christians.
It's all good.
Every week, I am so nervous and anxious of like, okay, how much money am I spending? Like, can I buy this? Am I able to afford this? Like, and when I say this, I'm referring to like groceries and just like necessities,
Just basics.
just very basic stuff.
Not like trying to get the latest game out for PS5 or anything like that.
No. I've already asked for like when that kind of stuff comes around, I'm just like, birthday
Exactly.
help. Like,
Grimace.
Hey, Mom and Dad.
I'm really excited because the new Legend of Zelda game is coming out around my birthday, so I'm like, I want that. But
yeah, that's exciting.
but at the it's just, I would just really like to experience what it's like to not have to worry finding. Like, I remember at like the first summer after Vivint, I didn't have to work at all, just because or my first semester after working with Vivint, I didn't have to work at all because I had made enough that year to hold myself over for a semester. And
Nice.
It was great, but at the same time it's like, well,
It doesn't last very long.
it was one semester
Yeah.
out of my entire college career.
Yeah.
And even that semester I didn't really get to experience what I wanted to experience. So
Yeah.
like all the stuff that I really wanted to experience, I'm honestly kind of just experiencing now
Yeah.
in my last year. So
Okay, so I will be 100% honest. Even though you say I really want to know what it's like to experience to not stress about money, it's still you're still focusing on the lack of. Does that make sense?
no, the lack of. What do you mean?
You're still focusing on the lack of money you have now, because you're focusing
Okay.
on the stress of it. So, if you can learn to switch your language. I know this sounds all weird and hokey, but this is like legitimately what the most successful people in the world do. Your words have power. Like there were two people that won the Nobel Prize because they made a discovery about quantum entanglement, right? And this is kind of like what you were thinking, like quantum, like astral projection and all this stuff. Like,
Okay.
they won the Nobel Prize proving that it exists, right? So the power of your words make a difference. The words you speak or your perception or what you focus on makes a difference. So if you focus on, I want to know what it's like to not have to stress about money.
So how would you reword it then?
I want to know what it's like to experience X, Y, and Z. So, like, if money weren't an issue, if time weren't an issue, like, build that instead of focusing on the stress of money.
Okay,
So I want to have
want-
like financial
But what-
freedom or financial.
But essentially,
stability.
what you just said was the same thing.
It
'Cause
was,
you
but
said
it was
focusing on financial issues.
Okay, so what if
No.
I reworded
So
it
it's-
to I want to experience what it's like to look at a location on the map and to be able to afford to go there? What about that?
and have the means to live there. Yes.
I'm not talking. Well,
Yes.
same difference, but
Yeah. But yes. That is better than saying I don't want to be stressed, right? Because is what you were pointing out is the feeling that you're feeling like when you look for things, when you're looking at places to live, you're feeling anxious or stressed because you can't afford it in your current state.
Okay.
But focus on what it would feel like if you could. Like, let's say money wasn't an issue. Where would you want to live? Where do you believe you would have the best experience? Do you see what I'm saying? Because then you're
Yeah.
looking at it in a different perspective, in a different mindset.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing too, is like I don't want to just live in like one spot. I would like to live in multiple different locations.
Okay.
Like I would love to experience living in like Portland, Oregon. I would love to also experience what living in like, I don't know, Vermont, Maine, somewhere out on the East Coast that I've not spent a whole lot of time at.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, perfect. Dive into how that... And this is just... You don't have to do it right now, but I'm saying as you think about it...
Do it right now on the podcast.
Yeah, on the podcast. But it's just something... Because I've learned that, and the reason why I'm saying this is because that's literally how I have been able to secure the position I'm in currently with a job that I love, and the potential for growth, the potential, like I'm literally getting everything I have focused on because I have focused on it in a positive manner.
Mm-hmm.
Before, when I was focusing on it in a negative manner, I kept myself stuck in that current state. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, Rianne, would you say that a lot of like this kind of stuff is stuff that like you've, like the reason that you're at where you're at now with like your current job, because you were just talking to me earlier about how like you're a lot happier and you're making more than you were before. Do you feel like the reason that you got to that spot is because of the mindset that you've taken on and that you've adopted over the last several years?
Well, no, even in the last several months. It was, so I did NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. Basically, it uses words. Linguistic is language, right? And nerves, neuro, and programming, right? So when you think certain thoughts for a long time, it creates like a neural pathway to continue to think that thought, right? Well, NLP helps you create new neural pathways to think in a more effective and a more, more effective thought pattern.
Yo, this conversation went to a place I did not expect it to.
I know it really did.
In a different direction.
I'm
but
sorry.
Go ahead and finish your thought, though, and we'll move on to the next one.
I'm sorry. But that helped change my mindset a great deal. And when I started focusing on the positive side and switching how I focused on what I wanted, not in my current state, but on the state I want to have, or the state that I think I will have in that desired vision, place, whatever, that's when things start happening. And I mean happening fast. Like your brain just, your mind gets open to different opportunities or sees things in a different perspective.
So kind of like a butterfly effect in a sense.
Kind of. But it's just, those things are always there. It's just your mind is open and aware to the opportunities, where before it might not have been, because you weren't looking at it that way. You were looking at it in, I'm always stressed. I'm always, and I don't want to be stressed anymore, but the key word is stressed still. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, and I'm picking it up.
Okay. So
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
And the reason why I say this is because a lot of the propaganda, a lot of crap that's being put out there, like, I mean, I'm on TikTok. I know I shouldn't, because I'm like 40 and I'm like
get out of here, Grandma.
Yeah, right. I know. It's
Well,
like,
I mean,
shut up, Grandma.
if it makes you feel any better, most of the demographic of TikTok is above the age of 22, I think, is what the statistics came. I don't know,
but anyway, even the news, social media, YouTube, whatever, they're pushing a lot of, like, we are inundated with all these different perspectives and all these different points of view and everything, which is fine. It's good to be educated, but when we allow ourselves to be defined and influenced by them, that's where we sell ourselves short. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's why when I hear you guys say, like, yeah, we'll never buy a house, and I'm like, well, I don't know if that's true. I mean, if you don't want to buy a house, that's totally fine, but you guys might be extremely successful at your jobs that you're going into, right? Like, you could probably buy a business. Who knows? You know what I mean? You don't know what it is quite yet until you explore all options and don't get bombarded by all the drama. Sorry, Jacob, I didn't mean to ruin your podcast.
No, you didn't ruin anything. It's fine.
You're the one that wanted me to sit up and be attentive, so this is what you get.
we get way out in left field. That's okay. So yeah, the government's kind of our government right now is kind of on a big spending spree, unfortunately, and unfortunately, it is going to be on the backs of American citizens. We'll have to pick up the tab, unfortunately, especially with increasing in taxes and everything. And if they're going to spend almost double of what, of what they're bringing in as far as, or what taxes are coming in, yeah, we're gonna really put that on the next generation. Which is
that really does
sad.
kind of suck it for you guys, but that's okay because you can figure out a solution.
Yeah, the government should
Hopefully.
definitely
That's like a nice way of saying
do
you
a
got this. You can
balanced
figure it
budget.
out.
That's
Have fun, buddy.
Historically, the government hasn't been balanced. So, but let's go ahead and move on to our second topic. So, AI in entertainment. AI good. Let's talk about the good stuff about artificial intelligence and how that can help us in society, entertainment, all this fun stuff. Any thoughts?
I mean, have you guys seen the President's Play videos where they use the voices of like Biden, Trump, Obama, and they play games and they just shit talk?
Yeah, I have
It's
seen
so
that.
funny. I would pull up a clip, but I guarantee you'd have to censor some of it. So,
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's-
No, I haven't seen that.
oh, they're
Th-
so funny.
They're pretty. ridiculous.
Because I'm pretty sure I know how most of them are made. So there's this software called Voice AI that they train different voices with. So you can use voices of people that exist. And like you usually have to try and give your closest impression that you can because it helps like adjust it. But like it changes it as like live as you're talking and you can sound like completely different people.
Well, yeah, it's
But-
kind of like with recording audio. If it's if you record bad audio, you're gonna get if you record a bad sound, you're gonna get bad audio. So
Yeah.
Right.
But like giving a good impression helps the AI to like rearrange your voice because all voices are different. We all have a voice print, so it's the way we articulate things, how our vocal cords move. We all have that.
yeah. So if you
And
do a bad
so-
impression, you're gonna get a bad.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
it will
vocal-
sound.
yeah.
It'll sound artificial.
Right.
But there have been like lots of videos made where people can just take different voices without having those actual people, and I think it's hilarious because they just put random people in different situations, like presidents playing Minecraft because they wouldn't do that.
I think
But
that's,
it's
I think that's
so funny.
I think it's so genius, though. It's just like
Get the creeper.
It's
Go for the creeper.
like, oh, shut up, Trump! It's so funny.
I will do the best killing of those creepers.
you got to talk with your hands too, and like
Hands,
make this whole.
I will
You
do
have to speak with your hands.
I will build a wall in Minecraft. It'll be the greatest wall.
That's pretty good,
That'd be
Bryson.
the best
I'm
wall
actually kind of
ever.
concerned.
It'll be the best. Wall.
Nay, the greatest. The greatest, Bedford.
I have the greatest Minecraft world of all time.
Now,
So,
the greatest wall is not the walls that we build up like physically. Michelle. Michelle. She's got some great walls that I
Michael?
can break
Oh,
down.
I mean, Michelle?
That's exactly what they do all the time. It cracks me up. I'll have to show you guys these videos afterwards. But I think like that
can't-
kind
I
of
can't do
stuff
it by
is
myself.
entertaining.
Yeah. I think some of the other things that are going to be really cool with it is that they're going to be able to put the younger selves of other actors as well as bring back actors that have passed on that have a lot of screen time. So they could actually have those actors within like different TV series and different movies, like bringing Luke Skywalker back in The Mandalorian.
That's literally what
he
I was
looks
just
super
thinking.
young, and I was just like, that's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
And it's almost scary close.
Yeah, but it's also Disney. They can afford whatever they want. So
Yeah, but isn't that somewhat
Yeah, for now.
exploitive? Like, to me, I'm like...
I think the dead people, I think that they should leave it at that. Like, don't do that. Don't bring those people back. But I think the de-aging, that's something they've been doing for a while, whether
Yeah.
it's CGI or trying to do it with makeup. And so
Yeah.
that I understand. But
yeah, they already kind of tried that once with General Tarkin in Rogue One.
yeah.
But
But bringing
And
people back, no, that sounds like a terrible idea.
yeah, it's not like that's not something I want to see all the time. It was really cool to see. I'm glad that I got to experience it, but I don't like.
Sometimes it
The-
does look off, though. It's a
It-
little
it does.
uncanny valley.
It does, but like the thing is, like I want to leave it at that. Like you were saying, like I would much rather have an experience going like, oh, like that's actually kind of cool, and like they did a good job. Like
Right.
I don't want to be like, oh, okay, like that actor passed on. We need to respect their work and like
Yeah.
leave their work as it is.
Yeah. It would definitely give you a different feel if it was like a particular band. So like, you know, the band Gorillaz, So
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't, they just have like a screen partition in front of them, and then they just project all of their cartoons of them playing their instruments and stuff.
Yeah.
But like take that a step further with AI, and you could have Kurt Cobain and Nirvana playing back when they were in their heyday up on a screen.
I mean,
it's
that's
just
true.
a
Don't they
bunch-
have that
bunch of-
with what's his face, Tupac, somewhere? They have like a hologram of
They
him
did like
that
a
performs.
Tupac thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Oh
think.
yeah, they did do that.
I don't know
didn't they?
where, but I know that's a thing.
I think you are right. I think they have done that
But
fairly
okay,
recently.
This is my concern. Like for entertainment and everything, that's one thing, but I think it can be dangerous too.
Okay, well before we get into the dangers,
Oh, okay.
I have one more positive.
Yeah,
For
as I was
Yes.
talking about doing all this negative, like focusing on the negative. thing,
Rianne's
I'm like,
like,
well, I mean,
and
now
let's go
let's
back.
get there.
AI is a concern. It is
Yeah.
a concern.
Yeah.
So
So the other thing I think is going to be really cool about AI is when it comes to films and TV series doing like closed captions
Oh yeah.
and like having it recorded with multiple languages, and then instead of like their mouth moving and not matching up with the words and the phonetics and everything going from different languages, the AI could make up for that, and then it seems like they're speaking that language.
okay, I can get down
That's
with
actually
that.
kind of cool. I could get down with that.
There's a lot of AI being put into that for like captioning type stuff. I can't remember if it's Google or Apple, but within a couple of years, they want to try AR glasses. So that's like mixing the real world with virtual reality, being able to have virtual elements like seeing through like glasses.
Like
But
Free Guy kind of stuff.
Exactly. But I know a huge thing that I've seen is because they'll have like microphones and stuff so you can like tell it to do something, but have it so that they're more directional, and so you can talk to someone and have live captions, which I think would be fantastic in real life, because sometimes I don't understand people even if I'm looking straight at them.
That's funny. Can we think of any other positives for AI? Oh, something that's really interesting is that we used to have aimbots back in the 90s when American Online was like the first internet connection and browser. And they used to have chatbots back then, but they were very crude and terrible.
Now we have like ChatGPT.
Now we have like ChatGPT
Oh.
version 4.
I
What are
don't
some
know.
things have you guys played around with ChatGPT at all?
I have
or-
not myself, Bryson. You've told me about.
I haven't played with it myself,
I
but
did this weekend.
but the school has been having issues with it
Oh, interesting.
because people are idiots. They've been using it. So with the radio, someone used it to write a sports rap
Stupid.
and didn't refine it, and someone tried publishing a news article that was written
Stupid.
by ChatGPT, which is also dumb because, and they don't proofread them because ChatGPT, like any chatbot, only relies on the data it's been fed and pattern recognition.
Right.
So it's not writing with all like the rules and everything in mind like a person does. It just writes what words work together because of what it's seen before. And so there is a lot of issues for plagiarism and miscommunication, like words and sentences not actually making sense together. But so people have tried to use that in professional settings, and it's caused a lot of issues.
Yeah, that does not surprise me. I think just as a novelty, I think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think like taking it super seriously is the kind of way to go with that, because it is, very, very even though it is pretty powerful, it's very, very
They're still very primitive.
Yeah, it's very primitive as far as like the aligning of the different steps into was it the 3 levels of artificial intelligence? I
Yeah.
think we talked about that podcast or 2 ago. Let's talk about some of the stuff that we're seeing with it, since we're kind of on that line already talk a little bit about, some of the negatives and the things that we're kind of seeing with it. I think, especially now since it is kind of open source, and so anybody can access it and play with it.
Well,
I think a lot of children are I think they're having a lot of issues with children utilizing it for creating papers and projects and stuff like that, essays.
Well, we watched a South Park episode about that.
Dude,
That is so true. We did.
One of my very best friends actually used ChatGPT to turn in an essay, and it was like a group thing. So like their group had to turn into like multiple different essays, and as far as they know, nobody else in the class used ChatGPT. Their group did, and their group got the best grade in the whole class.
Oh no, yeah. That's not good.
That isn't good.
That is not good.
You guys, it's been an issue like since it came out, and I'm not gonna lie. So I played with it this weekend because we watched the South Park episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was like, okay, let's see how creative, or what can we really do. And it's like if you put the app on your phone, you can say interact with me like a sarcastic friend, or just be a friend, and it's like it prefaces everything as an AI language model, blah 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 blah. And it's like, you ask it to tell me a joke, and all it does is spits out stupid dad jokes. I was like,
that's what it's been fed.
Oh my gosh. But it's like, I ask, what 5 things can I do every day that will help me have the best day ever? And it gives me 5 things, and it's like, okay, these are all very simple. But then it's like, okay, what if I were to, could you help me write a spicy romance novel to publish? And it's like, I can give you some ideas.
Yeah, it won't do it.
It won't do it. But there's also a ton of videos on YouTube on chat, like how it actually will do things if you ask, or if you prompt it.
Give it the right
in
promptings,
the right
and
way.
It'll give you
And
bad
so,
information.
Yeah, so there's all of these videos on YouTube on like how to give the right prompts to give you stuff. But then then I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to confess. I did use it to help me with a geology assignment. Now, keep in mind, I did.
We're live right now, just saying.
I know. I'm not saying which one. And I did proofread it. I did give like certain things, but it was like
grade revoked.
She probably got an A on it.
I did. I totally did.
No.
Of course
that's
I did.
Funny.
And I checked it for plagiarism because I have a plagiarism checker. It didn't even get flagged.
Wow.
But
that's incredible that you can do that, though. That's not helpful for our society and for for civilization.
Or or I would say maybe it is helpful because now we just have to expand our intelligence or use our intelligence in a different way. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In what way, though?
Maybe we get more refined on how to. So there was a video that
how to use better tools. Because it sounds like you use like 2 or 3 different tools to get that one paper done, and you got an astounding grade on it, an astonishing grade on it.
Oh, I used Google and ChatGPT, and it was amazing. Anyway, I did amazing.
And your plagiarism checker.
And my plagiarism checker, yeah. And of course my amazing design skills. So, but is what I'm saying is, are we just going to learn? Because like, for instance, I remember when I was a kid, we couldn't use calculators ever. We couldn't use calculators ever. But now they're like, and the whole reason we couldn't use calculators is because they're like, well, you need to know how to do this because you might not have access to a calculator when you're in need. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Now look at it. We have a calculator on freaking everything. On our phone, on our watches,
yeah.
on everything.
Scientific calculator on your phone.
Yeah.
Right. So is what I'm saying is like the need to know, like for the average person who's not, say, in engineering or a chemist, doesn't necessarily need to know like major math equations or whatever. They just need to know how to use the tool of a calculator. Right? So maybe our intelligence just shifts. Our intelligence learns how to utilize AI, But that's scary as crap because we'll go into that, I'm sure. But our intelligence will shift and we become more attuned with our bodies rather than more attuned with technology.
Yeah, that's a possibility. But we're so
Anyway.
integrated, like with technology right now.
Or maybe Elon Musk will just put a chip in our brain and we'll just have it downloaded. Anyway,
I don't know.
crazy.
I don't know how I feel about chips in my brain.
Well, Elon Musk
But,
is against AI. He's scared of AI.
But he's not scared of putting chips in brains. That's what's fascinating to me.
But the reasoning is he says that's the only way that we can keep a check on AI is if we have Neuralink, and it keeps us
or
it keeps
it
us
accesses our neural link and then takes over our bodies.
See, that's the other thing too. But he was saying like
I've watched too many sci-fi movies.
he was saying that the reason why he was doing Neuralink is because he knows that AI is inevitable, and that's the only way he could see that humans could prolong or prevent the complete takeover of AI.
This just sounds like Dr. Octavius in Spider-Man 2 when he gives the chip and he's like, this will protect me from AI, and then it breaks and then the AI takes over. And so
So here's another issue that we're going to have with AI, especially when it can change facial features and spoof other people, how they speak, and the words that they say and use. I don't know if we can look this up really quick. Joe Rogan, Alpha Libido ad. So this is a deep fake that was going around on Twitter. It's been since taken down because it was way too good.
And this clip I'm about to show you from Joe Rogan, it is wild. Even if I tell you that it's fake,
There's a category of supplements that are very interesting, work very well to increase testosterone by about 100 to 200 points.
Well, look, that Alpha Grind product that's all
Alpha
over TikTok.
Grind, excuse me.
If you go to Amazon and you type in libido booster for men,
Ooh, I
you're
can
gonna
still
find
hear it.
right at the top. And that's because guys are figuring out that it literally is increasing size and making a difference down there.
It stimulates the testes if you got those.
What
and
the
makes more testosterone.
Okay, so
There's no way he said that.
No. That's
No.
Andrew Huberman. They do talk about stuff like this all the time on the podcast. Anytime this guy's on his podcast, but I could tell that was a fake Joe Rogan just because there was synthesization I could hear in the voice. But there is actually an entire conversation between Joe Rogan and Apple guy that died.
Steve
Jobs. Look that up.
Yeah.
Conversation podcast between Joe Rogan and Steve Jobs. They've never met in real life. This is all AI.
So this is a very big issue because like people having conversations that they didn't have. Like, how are you supposed to know what is true, what is real?
Right. Well, and like
reality will become like it's like reality is already like the lines of reality are already pretty blurred, especially with the issues with legacy media, especially with big tech, censorship. Like there's so many ways right now that you can reasonably cater to one side or the other or one narrative to another, that it's going to get to the point, like we're already at that point actually. Ever since the birth of the internet, it's been really difficult to find the truth of things. Like you really have to look very, very carefully. Look at both sides, look at...
you have to develop your discernment for sure. And I fear that people haven't done that because I feel that we're not necessarily taught anymore how to think critically.
Well, that and like people just put some stuff in a book, and because that's where information comes from, people just automatically believe that whatever they read from a book, that's true, that's real, that's scientific.
Yeah, that's what the internet's for.
Yeah. So, anyways, is there a clip from that conversation that's interesting or not?
Did you find it?
I did find it. Let's see.
They're weird.
Me too.
Well, that's good. So you must be a fan of the show then, right?
I am a fan. I mean, it's nice to sit back in the car and listen to you rant.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like
Wow.
I always like you.
Could hear it.
Well, appreciate that.
Yeah.
But still, that's where we're at right now. Imagine another 6 to 10 years.
Oh yeah.
Like we're gonna have a real difficult time trying to figure out like if Joe Rogan had a conversation with somebody or not, or if they talked about stuff that was, objective truth or not.
Like, how does that affect court cases?
Yeah.
Well, and
Like,
that's
you can just
what
fabricate.
I'm saying.
You can just fabricate truth now.
Like, that's what's concerning me is, like, how many people can be impacted. Like, let's say a billionaire decides that he wants to, I don't know. I mean, there's a ton of different scenarios, but, like, it could go as far as, like, just
You gotta go pee.
you're breaking the wall.
Go
But it could go so many different ways. And I mean, with like world leaders and everything being cameras and everything, there could be some real devastating consequences if we're not careful.
Yeah, well, what about they could have like the president get up there from the White or whatever they do there, like from the White House Oval Office, and it could be completely 100% fake. Like, and they could just have them say whatever they want. Like that's pretty concerning. But anyway, where are we at on time? Are we? Under
we
an hour
just hit
still?
an hour.
Okay, so we got to switch gears here. So, anyways, yeah, there's some cool things about artificial intelligence and chatbots and stuff that are coming out, but yeah, there's a lot of concerning things going on with that. So we, as citizens, we need to be aware.
Bryson, I'm curious. What do you think is like the benefits and what freaks you out, if anything?
About AI?
Yeah.
I like it for entertainment value. For like things like ChatGPT, I don't think we should be fully writing things with it. I think it would be good because we talked about this in my news writing class. Good for like outlines type things because they can definitely get like general points really well. And so I think that would be good in terms of like writing.
Yeah. It's bad with nuance.
Exactly. Like there's no creativity. There's no.
It's just
there's no soul. There's no identity that's put into the writing.
Yeah.
And so.
But if AI is constantly learning and consuming and growing, because that's what it's designed to do, and it's designed to continually better itself. Don't you think that could be mimicked very effectively eventually?
Not necessarily. Because, again, it's the way AI is now, because we still don't fully understand what consciousness is and where, like, all of that, our humanity comes from, which is creativity, our ability to be self-aware.
It depends on who you ask, I think.
I think AI is so far from that point because it's just pattern recognition.
Yeah.
And so
it's still question and answer. It's not.
You can still feed it as much as you can, but a lot of the creativity and that kind of stuff is going to come from a person.
Yeah.
And so you may get glimpses of it, but it's not that it's doing it for itself. It's just copying it from other areas.
Yeah. And then also we have the issue where, where is this being developed at? Who's developing it? And unfortunately, there's definitely some political bias within its algorithms right now. Like if you ask it to be critical against, Donald Trump, it'll be very critical against Donald Trump. And it'll be like, all right, be critical about Joe Biden. It'll be like, Joe Biden's the best thing since sliced bread.
I don't know if it's that.
There have been some articles talking about it being politically biased towards the left.
Yeah, and I mean I
don't know if it's different since its newest version, which is version 4, but I think this was back in 3 or 3.5 that it was still kind of politically biased. But anyway, let's move on, guys, because I know we want to get to our main topic. So the Nashville shooter, I mean, obviously we don't want to utilize this person's name. We don't want to give them more excitement and credence over the tragic things that have happened. So the Nashville shooter was a previous student of the Christian school, the Presbyterian I
thought it was a Catholic one.
No, it was a Presbyterian something or other. Authorities have stated that the individual was a transgender male, so biological female. Are incidents like this a gun control issue or a mental health crisis? Thoughts on this tragedy possibly being labeled as a hate crime towards Christians? Twitter deletes thousands of Trans Day of Vengeance shortly after the shooting. Protests posts days after the Nashville shooting incident. And is there an increase of trans rights activists of all trans people call to arms? So what are you guys' thoughts of the stuff that you guys have seen on this topic?
Yeah, I'm curious about your guys' perspective because you guys probably get a different feed on this topic than Jacob or I do, just based off of the demographic.
Bryson, you want to start? You want me to start?
You could start.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
So, like, okay, first of all, tragic. I mean, like, six people were killed in this incident. First of all, I want to, like, school shootings are not uncommon at this point. Like, this...
Which is so sad.
Which is so sad. And, like, the thing is, like, I think one of the main reasons this is getting so much, like, why this story is standing out so much is because of the trans issue and, like, that whole thing. And also because it's the area, it's Nashville, it's a big city. So,
right.
Like, of course, a lot of people are going to be talking about it. And the fact that children under, like, 9-year-old kids, so young, like, that kind of shit is should be against the laws of the universe, dude. Like, that shit's not okay. As far as, like, whether it's, like, a mental health issue or a gun issue, I don't really know what to label it as. It's just, it's an issue. Like, first of all, no one needs to have that many guns. And they did, there was a statement that came out that this person that committed the shooting, she was going through, like, some kind of emotional therapy. She was going through therapy. She was being treated. Like, wouldn't you think that someone that's going through that should be evaluated a little bit more closely as to, like, what they own as far as guns go?
Okay.
Like,
Tennessee doesn't have any red flag laws which would cover that, like mental health and owning guns, and so that.
Well,
so
but
that's one thing.
It does. Just on that, so we can eventually come back to it. Think about privacy laws, mental health laws, HIPAA, all that sort of stuff.
Right.
So I'm just saying, like, yes, I get what you're saying, but that's the counterpoints that are probably going to come up.
Right. So there is all that. Bryson, I'm losing my thought. You go for it.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's something I personally do not like, guns or weapons. In a perfect world, I'd say no one should have them. But we don't live in a perfect world.
Right.
So, I don't get that.
We also live in a country where, the Second Amendment
exactly.
It's one of the biggest things. So.
But so for me, I think it's a bit of a combination of mental health and gun control. Because I understand that we will never get rid of all guns. But I think the things that should be talked about is everywhere should have gun registries and be required to register them so they're easier to track and figure out what's happening. And you also need those kind of red flag laws and behavioral checks so that we know that the person we are giving these weapons to are not under something that could possibly affect that. Because here's the thing. Not all people with mental health are going to go shoot up a school or a public location. But it's things that we definitely do need to be aware of because they can have those effects.
Okay.
They also, there's not a whole lot of data to be taken on, like, well, like,
There's not too many trans shooters.
Exactly.
No.
And like most
I think they've
mass
had like
shooters,
4 like that they could think of.
yeah. So like
Yeah.
most
3 or
mass
4?
shooters are like, first of all,
It's
most of them are men, and they're
98% is men.
Yeah.
they're men and they're heterosexual. So it's like there's not a whole lot of data to pull from. So it's kind of hard to survey exactly. Yeah. I hope that makes sense. I know it probably doesn't, but yeah.
Well, I think
Anyways.
the first thing I would probably say is kudos to the Metro Police of Nashville, because they were on scene, I think, within 10 or 12 minutes.
They took action.
And they took action immediately after they got there. They didn't sit around for 70 minutes like that one shooting that occurred.
And they, yes. And
So I just want to say awesome that the Men in Blue did what they were supposed to do, and they went and protected as many teachers, staff, and children that they could have.
They did what they could.
Yeah, they really did do what they
everything
could.
that they could.
I want to definitely tip my hat to that.
Everything that they could have done, they did.
because that was not like that was a traumatizing event for them.
Yeah, for
to
sure.
have to deal with that for
Yeah.
sure.
Like perform like that kind of raid in a school, like
Yeah.
And
So-
knowing that, like, they probably had friends and family that potentially were in that school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sure they were on their mind the entire time. So
Yeah.
So there was I want to say I don't know if I want to say a specialist, but like a scientist on the Jordan B. Peterson podcast. Sarah Stockton, trans care specialist. And I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about this. Like, I want to preface it firstly, because if you're an adult and you want to pay for whatever kind of quote unquote care for yourself, even though I disagree with mutilating your body, like, obviously I can't stop that. Under the laws of the United States, if you can do these different procedures onto yourself as an adult and you can pay for it, more power to you. If you're going to live your best life, great. I think we should leave children out of it. I think that should be a very hard line where anyone under the age of 18 should not be exposed to these kinds of things. Now, obviously, we are so integrated and connected to the internet. Kids are going to find these things. Obviously, if they have questions, especially if they're in school and they're underage, obviously we need to have teachers defer to the parents. That's a parent issue, not a government or a teacher issue, to talk about that stuff. As well as I actually agree with this particular person that was on the Jordan B. Peterson program, that there should be some kind of due process when it comes to psychology, when it comes to issues with individuals with gender dysmorphia with what was the other term I was going to say? I don't remember off the top of my head. But anyways, it's really important that people really understand and are that they are informed properly exactly what these things are going to do, and they should really talk to a psychologist and therapist who can be objective, science-based, fact-based, and they get the care that they need. And obviously, if they go through all the process and they decide that's what they want to do, then and it's under the laws of the land, then yeah, for sure.
Well,
go do what you need to do as an adult. But kids should not be, anybody 18 and under should not be around that.
Okay, so basically is what I'm hearing is your concern is that a child doesn't necessarily have the capacity to fully understand the consequences of, like, puberty blockers or bodily, like, removing members of their body and stuff, and how that will impact their life.
Right. They don't understand that as children. They can't.
And do you
obviously
so
they
are
can't
you
consent to sex, so why should they be able to consent to having these radical changes that will affect them for the rest of their lives?
I get that. I understand that. But I think where it's not to deny them, like, exploring or figuring out what's going on with them, but maybe having the medical field be more conscientious and helping them understand and maybe giving them more time to figure that out, because is what I heard is statistically that about 90% of the people that
I think
who
the
don't
statistic
gender conform with certain things actually end up turning out to be gay. And so they're just going through the regular puberty or pubescent figuring stuff out that everybody goes through, and there's concern that they're jumping to the extreme of
right.
Oh, well then you must be a girl or you must be a blah blah blah, when in all actuality, if just left alone, they would probably just figure things out and figure out that they're gay.
So the statistic I think you're talking about, which I think Jordan B. Peterson echoed, was about 80% of individuals with body gender dysmorphia. I don't know if I'm even saying the word right, to be honest with you.
Gender dysphoria is what you're thinking.
Yeah,
dysphoria, excuse me. Yeah. Not dysmorphia, dysphoria, excuse me. They do find out for the lack of studies of these extended trans care. Unfortunately, that's the only study that they can cite really right now, is that 80% of those individuals eventually grow out of the idea that they are a male believing they're female believing they're male, and they settle into their biological sex. And the majority of them do either become like gay or lesbian, but they at least settle into their sex if they just give them the time and wait for them to get through it. They settle into
their body.
Right.
Yeah. And so accept their body as is.
Right. And so this person, Sarah Stockton, who's a trans care specialist, kind of watched things go from like a scientific base and study base and I'm not, for some reason my brain's not reaching the word clinical, that I just had.
Maybe clinical.
But going through the steps and due process to ensure that this person is getting the right things that they need, rather than just going, oh, well, see them once or twice, and if they really want to become a woman, then start them on puberty blockers and, start getting them into their new body, kind of a deal.
So they rush. So the concern is that they're rushing to that conclusion before the full development of that person is actually able to happen. Right.
And so this person who's been a specialist for a long time, they've found that it usually takes 1 to 2 years to really diagnose and to really kind of decide whether this person should move forward with that kind of changes to their body or not. Because, the reality is that some people do go through these things and they're happier. Unfortunately, the statistics show that, when people start going through these kinds of things, that the probability of them going through unlifing ideation, that it becomes even higher the more that they get these on these hormones, the more treatments. That they get the bottom or the top or bottom surgeries, that they actually become more depressed. They got to get on more antidepressants, SSRIs, which they're starting to come out now that SSRIs aren't really helping.
They're not effective.
They're not effective, which is really interesting, because when we were growing up, everybody was going on Prozac and whatever drug was at the time. And so the reason I'm saying this is because, the reality is these people are out there. And I think because we are addressing it, obviously we do accept that these people, that is a reality. We do have trans individuals out there. So with that being said, it's really interesting that this is a trans individual who went and unlifed people in a Christian school. Now, they are, as far as I understand, they are sifting through a manifesto that this person wrote up. I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen any articles coming out
because they haven't released it.
They haven't released it. Okay, that's probably why I haven't heard
as of this point, no motive has been released.
Right.
Well, and I find that kind of problematic, because on every other like
mass shooting, like it's out in the first week.
Yeah. And I'm like, are they not pushing it because it would paint the agenda? Okay, this is what really bothered me. This is one thing that really bothered me, that the press secretary in the White House got up and said, we're with the transgender community right now and all the backlash you're going to be facing. And I'm like, what about the children that were just killed? What about the people that were just killed? You can't even say that are like, that bothers me a little bit. Because they are victimizing the perpetrator.
Yeah.
That bothers me.
Yeah.
A ton.
And what's really interesting is that there has been a lot of different articles that have come out, especially with these different trans activists being very, very upset that this particular person was being misgendered. And so in the trans community, if you say somebody that is a trans man and you call them a biological female, that is a bad thing, that you should be punished for it. You should lose your job. You should be throttled on social media, or even have your accounts completely deleted because you disagree with the biological differences between men and women and who those individuals are. Like I don't have a problem like saying this person was a trans male. Like that doesn't offend me. I think what is offensive to some people is the proposed compelled speech. These are my pronouns and you will use them. I think that kind of attitude really puts a bad spin on your activism and trying to get people to be tolerant and acceptant of your particular community. And what's really interesting, especially as time has gone on with the LBGT alphabet that continues to grow, is that it's seemingly less and less of a community, because you're seeing a lot more gays and lesbians like separating themselves from the supposed LBGT community, and they're starting to go against the narrative, changing the terms of like pedophiles to MAPS, minor attracted persons. Like what? Why are we doing that? Why are we?
Since when
that's
was
that's
that
not an
thing?
accepted thing.
They're pushing for acceptance with
not everybody.
The minor attracted people, those are the ones pushing for that. It's not the whole community. It's those types of people.
Yeah.
It's the people that are pedophiles. They are the kinds of people that are pushing for that. It's not the general
Because
community.
who the hell else would have pushed for that?
Exactly.
I don't know. There's some that, especially with these other things, there's very, very radicalized individuals who believe that it's important to be nicer to individuals who have a quote unquote sickness, quote unquote disease, that they're calling these things now, instead of just saying people are bad because of their different attractions to individuals that are underage.
Well, I think this is where it kind of comes in, is the population is getting more and more frustrated at the fact that children are being over-sexualized. Yeah. Whether it's like, well, how do you
especially
identify?
Children and women, they're being targeted.
Well, we're not gonna. I will go on way too much of a rant, but like that's my concern. Like if you're an adult and you're gay or trans or whatever, I don't care.
Live your best life.
The minute you start imposing that
belief,
it's
ideology.
That same ideology then also needs to be applied to heterosexual stuff as well, because it's all sexualizing. It doesn't matter.
I agree. I don't think heterosexual should be like. I don't think some like grown ass teacher should be talking to 8-year-old girls about their sexual identity or gender or anything. Like, or do you see what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I don't agree with the sexualization of children, period. And the fact that they're wanting to bring books in that talk about how to explore things sexually in elementary, and they want to talk about your gender in elementary, like that's not relevant at that time in development. I mean, understanding like so-and-so's, it just I don't know, it bothers me because I just feel like it's priming the pump to exploit children.
All right, so I kind of want to move on
Anyway,
from the
sorry.
whole trans thing. But is there any other final thoughts on that particular topic?
This is a rabbit hole. Which rabbit hole are we going down?
Well, I kind of want to be
several.
done with the whole trans thing, because I kind of want to talk a little bit more. I want to talk a little bit more about this manifesto that hasn't been coming out yet, because a lot of times those manifestos are kind of like their last letter to, this is why I'm doing this.
So do you think that this manifesto is more like a journal from this person talking about like their experiences growing up in this community, this church, and how they kind of struggled against it, and now now that they've kind of realized themselves, like that's what kind of pushed them off the.
I think it depends on the person, because some manifestos are just like their collection of beliefs against a certain group or society or government or whatever the case may be. It's usually like a big rabbit hole rant of why they're doing the things that they did.
A manifesto is usually a letter or an explanation of why they took the action they took.
Right.
That is literally the definition.
So what's the explanation?
So my concern is how this might get swept under the rug if it does turn out that it could be considered a hate crime against Christians. Because I kind of feel like look, I don't have any love for religious people. Like, if you want to believe in religion or whatever the case may be, do your thing, like whatever. But when you start to attack people because of their beliefs, like that's where I'm just like,
how is that any how is that any different than a disenfranchised single white male going in and doing a shooting against a gay club? Do you see what I'm saying? Like
that would be big news.
Considered that would be considered a hate crime and labeled a hate crime.
Or like the whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing.
Well,
like that was a really big deal, and they were trying to paint him as a racist and all this stuff when he was just in self-defense.
But is what I'm saying is like it's hard to see that they're so quick to label the single white male. It's not hard. I mean, because that could be a hate crime, but when they're hesitant to name this a hate crime, that just further disenfranchises anybody who identifies as a Christian and causes further division. Do you see what I'm saying?
And I believe people should be able to believe what they want to believe. Like that's part of our Constitution with the right of religious belief. I think that's really important, even though I disagree with a lot of the some of the religious beliefs, but a lot of their the principles and stuff like that are good, except for the ones that turn into cults and brainwashing. But I'm just wondering if the reason that they're not bringing this out and they were kind of hesitant to identify this person as a trans person, if they're really trying hard to keep that information from coming out. Now, obviously, this is my aluminum foil hat. I don't actually know, but it just seems that depending on the shooting, who the shooter is, the color of their skin, their ideologies, their disagreements against, LBGT or whatever the case may be, it seems like those are hit very, very hard in the legacy media, and they're pushed very, very hard to saying these are bad things. And it seems like this one, it's like, this wasn't as bad. And the attitude of the federal government and basically saying, oh yeah, we stand with trans people. It's like, you do know that 6 people just died and were shot to death. And then not only is that issue happening, but then there's people coming out, especially on the radicalized left, that are basically saying, oh, now look at this example. Now we need to take all the guns. I just don't think that disarming Americans because of these incidences are going to help stop them, because oftentimes what happens with these shootings, they're in areas that are gun-free zones.
Well, because they're easy targets.
And they're easy targets.
And to make guns illegal isn't going, like, there are areas where guns are already illegal. Like Chicago, for instance.
Well, yeah, and the people that are...
Chicago has the strictest gun gun laws,
They have the highest crime and the highest murder
but
rates with
they
firearms.
have the most gun-related deaths too.
Right.
So just because you outlaw something doesn't mean it's going to eradicate it. Just like making drugs illegal, it made the situation worse
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
Well, and just like all these different companies, these different countries who, with fascism and socialism, where they took all the guns away from their people, and disarmed them, and what happened? Genocide happened.
True.
So what happened in all these countries, very, very sadly. And so these are examples to me that tell me that, people should be able to legally own firearms. However, I don't think people should own tanks, obviously. I don't think people should be able to own RPGs, I don't think people should be owning those kinds of things.
You're using vernacular that I don't even understand. I don't know what an RPG is.
It's a rocket
It's a rocket launcher.
Oh, okay.
They're used to blow up tanks. But at the same time, like when they're trying to demonize, the term assault rifle, which there isn't really great definitions outlining what an assault rifle is. Even in Congress, they weren't able to define very well what an assault rifle is. So it's like, how are you going to be able to ban a certain brand or a certain model or a certain grip or trigger or all these different components that make up a firearm to reasonably ban those kinds of things if they can't define it?
Well, they keep the definitions vague so that they can have more control and deem it what they want, just like they're doing with this bill, the TikTok bill.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Because that's going to give them control to deem anything as a foreign enemy or an enemy of the state.
Right.
Right? And anyway, we go into deep stuff. But my concern is, if you take the ability for law-abiding citizens, if you take away their ability to protect themselves and those that they care about,
their property,
right? Like, I don't know. I just think you're asking for trouble, and you're setting everybody up for trouble, because it's not like everybody has private security. It's not like the police have been supported lately. I mean, we're always effective.
One of the very thriving illegal businesses in the United States is the gun trade. It's a thriving business.
Yeah. Well, so is human trafficking. Human trafficking is even more. But I'm just saying, like, taking away guns isn't going to solve the problem.
That's where I'm getting at too. Is, I mean, like, if you're going to take away guns, I mean, then, like, it doesn't matter. Gangs and there's
criminals are going to get them no matter what.
Yeah, there's still going to be a means to have them.
All you're going to do is create a whole new trade boom.
Yeah, so before you take away, like, a constitutional right to defend yourself, you need to first then remedy the issue that would explode, like, it caused a whole entire catastrophe. Sorry, I'm like tripping on my words, but you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
I mean, because so this is what happens. In the 80s, they went on this whole, like, drugs are bad thing, right? And what did
Reagan?
And what happened? Yeah. Who were the first to die? Who were the first to be massively impacted by these laws? It was the community, Black America, Latino. The impoverished America. Like, it was more a class system thing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it was like
definitely a system of racism for sure.
Yes, but also, like, it created a whole huge ripple effect that disenfranchises the whole lower income level of community, right? I mean, the impoverished, everything. It just, I don't know. So making guns illegal, I don't think is the answer. Just like making drugs was not the answer.
Well, so this is kind of one of the things I thought was really interesting. That was kind of share. I think I've seen it on the internet a couple of times, where these lawmakers are saying, well, the most consistent part of mass shootings is that there were guns involved, so therefore we should take guns. It's like, okay, well, the most common denominator in car crashes and killing people are cars, so should we take those away?
Well, and that's the thing. It's
but cars are more regulated than guns are.
Yeah.
They are. You have to have a license that also has your registration, and you have to have that on you when you drive your car, or you will get arrested. I think you should have the same for a gun. You have to usually have keys or a fob, at least, to operate your car. They are just more regulated than guns are. I think guns need more regulation. Like, this car argument comes up, but cars are a lot more regulated, and that's why they are that way.
Yeah, but still people buy and sell cars illegally and drive cars illegally.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah.
So
and that's still going to happen regardless.
You still have the same issue.
Yeah.
So.
But when things are more regulated, it's easier to track the things that do happen with the regulated cars.
Why do we need to track people with guns?
See,
I'm just kind of curious. Like, I know you disagree, and that's perfectly okay. I'm not going to be here to change your mind or to try to convince you otherwise. I think this is really good discussion and very good discourse that people need to hear. And so I just kind of want to hear your thought process on it.
I think because guns are so powerful, because guns are meant usually to harm. A car is not designed to harm. Yes, it can be used to do that. A gun is, whether it's for a person or an animal, that's what it's designed to do, is to harm something. I think a weapon like that with that specifically in mind, should be regulated. I think you should be required to have stricter licenses, background checks. You should have a safe, especially if you have kids, because they should not be able to get it. I don't think you should have automatic or semi-automatic weapons, because those are not designed for hunting, because that's what most self-defense and other kind of guns are usually used. They started off as hunting. Semi-automatics and automatics are designed for war and to kill people. I don't think a civilian should own something like that. I think these things, they need to be tracked, because it's easier to find if something goes wrong, we can understand where they got it. Or if you have things like red flag laws where people are showing signs of mental instability, they can be tracked that they have a weapon that is so capable of harming another human being.
Okay, I hear that, and I understand that. There are vehicles that are actually more deadly than some guns, to be honest. And when used, they can be more deadly and kill more people at one time. Now, I'm not saying I disagree with you, Bryson, but I'm just going to put some counterpoints out there. So, mental health, just because somebody doesn't or suffers from depression doesn't necessarily mean that they are harmful. And the whole point of having a armed population is to fight against tyranny. So to fight against a government that could potentially become fascistic or controlling or tyrannistic in...
Tyrannical, yeah.
Tyrannical, thank you. That's the word
I hear you.
So that was the whole purpose of it. Now, if we were to sit and allow them to track everything, they could show up, come and take your guns. Like, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of an armed population.
Amendment,
right. Because if the government, like, you have to have license, all this stuff. Now, I do agree. There has to be education. There has to be And to be honest, there are actually quite a few red flag laws. There are laws on the books as far as like waiting periods and all that sort of stuff. There's a law that if you have a medical
There's already
marijuana
background
card,
checks.
You can't you can't own a gun.
you
if
can't
have
own a gun.
Yeah, you can't
So
buy a gun without a background check.
there
right now.
are actually quite a bit of laws on the books for regulation for guns. But like I said, that doesn't mean that there's not gaps and stuff. And there always are going to be gaps. There's no fell sure way. But just like there's no fell sure way to say that if a person buys a car, they're not going to use it to go mow down people at a parade. Right?
Like it doesn't become
Or-
a weapon until you utilize it as such.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, and to be honest, even these countries where they have taken guns away, that doesn't mean that they're not utilizing freaking knives or other, like a freaking crowbar as a...
Or a bow and arrow.
as
I'm
a-
in my house naked with a
Let's
tomahawk.
go, Daryl. Let's go.
Right. So is what I'm saying is like, it is not like a gun is a tool, just like a vehicle is a tool, just like anything else is a tool. And they all have a certain level or degree of danger depending on how the person is going to utilize it.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying there are permits. You do have to get a permit in order to get a gun. There are waiting periods.
You have to be 21 and older.
There is a registry.
like-
there are
Didn't-
red flag laws in place.
and for
Didn't
like
Utah-
concealed carry, like you have to get a license. You have to go through classes. But I think in general, like I do agree with you that people do need to be
Responsible. Yeah.
responsible. They need to be informed. They need to be trained. Like, I honestly, because I grew up around guns and how to safely, properly use them safely, they're not, they don't scare me as much as it would for somebody who's never been around one, or maybe they were in a house when it was shot up, because that's very, very scary. Like I've had experiences where I've had guns pulled on me. When I was working for Vivint, we were outside in Cleveland, Ohio,
Terrified
and they
to
had a
leave crap on
shootout.
me.
Well, it wasn't a shootout, but some guy was shooting a handgun, and everybody like jumped inside the house and ducked behind the windows, locked the doors, and waited for the cops to come by, which is just
Well,
terrifying.
and there was a gang
But-
fight, wasn't there? Like,
I don't know if there was a gang fight, but there was a shooting. Some kid just started shooting.
There were a couple of
A group of-
shootings by our house in DC. Like a couple of shootouts.
Yeah.
You remember those?
I don't remember him. I might have been asleep.
but I,
I don't know. But I do agree with you that people do need to be properly trained for safety. They need to be able to, in my opinion,
and I will say that there were more people who were trained on how to properly use guns when there weren't as many restrictions, because they were more commonplace. They were more.
yeah, I was very lucky, like growing up in the Boy Scouts and stuff, where I got to actually be around firearms.
I'm terrified of guns. I've had family
That's
members
why
killed of
we
guns.
need to go to a shooting range,
Right.
So I can show you how to properly
But-
use it and be safe around them.
Well, and that's the
But-
thing. I'm not, even though I'm terrified of them and I've never used it and I'm scared to like handle one, that's because I'm not educated and I don't have the confidence to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But like when I think that's a problem too. Like there are classes out there how to learn how to use a gun and all that sort of stuff. But that doesn't mean that's a surefire way. That's all I'm
true.
saying.
There is no way to have a perfect system in which we will 100% be able to protect someone from going and doing what happened at the Nashville Presbyterian Church school. Like there's no surefire way where we can 100% guarantee that there isn't going to be a shooting or somebody's going to shoot somebody. Because there's so many ways to get it, not only legally, which most of the firearms that this individual did purchase were legal, went through all the background checks and everything like that. But at the same time, like when you start getting to the point where you start restricting people because of mental illness, well, okay, which mental illnesses would be the best to say that, okay, if you have this illness, you probably shouldn't own a firearm.
Well, and then who's
And at the
to
same
say,
time, who's to say once you go on the proper medication, you have the right dosage and everything, that you are no longer having that particular issue? Will then that be reversed and that person be able to
But
buy
even
a firearm
then,
after that.
that can be weaponized because somebody can say, "Oh, I know so and so. They're unhinged. They're
Oh, yeah, Jim Carrey's mentally ill, so he shouldn't own a firearm.
So I'm gonna send the sheriffs to go confiscate their guns." Like, and if it's just based off of do you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of room for error in that, but I do agree. Like, accessibility, having ease of accessibility is dangerous. So I feel like Bryson's point of like everybody needs to own a gun safe, and especially like if they're
when they
in
have
the
children,
home,
yeah, absolutely.
for sure, 100%.
Absolutely.
That is super safe. But how do you enforce that?
Yeah.
Without infringing on, I don't know. I mean, I'm open to ideas on that. I mean, how do you see that being enforced?
Well, and the thing is that, like I'm saying, like, just like with this whole TikTok application issue, where we have a lot of congressional and Senate individuals who are wildly uninformed, and they are trying to...
But they're incentivized by the people who, like
Right.
Mark Zuckerberg, who's
Right.
lobbying.
But like, you know, some of these different congressional things that I think is really silly. But one of the most interesting things I thought was banned for the whole gun control was an arm brace, which was basically a stabilizer for firearms. And for whatever reason, that was banned, which doesn't, I mean, I'm all up for reasonable, like, gun control. That makes sense. But it has to make sense over everything, not just, well, you know, there's a school shooting, so we should take all the guns. Like, I think just a big one sweeping, you know, take away everything just doesn't make sense to me. But I do agree there should be, you know, some kind of training, some kind of, you know, reasonable laws. I really don't think that anybody under the age of 21 should own a firearm. Just like, you know, people under 21 shouldn't be able to drink alcohol. I think that makes sense. People under 21 aren't allowed to purchase cannabis from, you know, recreational dispensaries. So I think that would be, you know, very acceptable. But what just
basically any. With that being said, I'm like, I don't feel like until your frontal lobe is fully developed, maybe you shouldn't have access to anything that could potentially harm somebody.
Well, that we can go back to the whole
Or
trans thing as
yourself.
well. You know, people shouldn't transition until they're fully developed.
Their brains are
But
fully.
but then we can go back to, okay, well then we know that, you know, social media and screen time and addiction to smartphones and tablets for children are really bad for them. But, you know, the legal age they can have these kinds of things is 13. So it's like, I feel like it's counterintuitive, because like we at one point at, you know, some juncture we believe the science and, you know, the different studies and stuff on the brain, and at the same time they're like, but we can go ahead and give all this stuff to kids.
It's just a where you draw the line.
Exactly. It's like, where is the line, you know? And it's like, it's been so blurred for so long. It's just like, man, it would be really nice if we could have some more cut and dry, you know,
Well, I guess it
things
depends on
in
the
this world.
indoctrination you want to give them too. Like, anyway, all I'm saying is there's a book that everybody should read. It's called Outwitting the Devil. It should just open your eyes to a lot of stuff. That's all.
Hey, it's after 10 now.
Holy
Let's go
cow.
another hour. Let's go. Just
No.
I'd like to not.
Sleep is
I got
nice.
school tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I if you signaled, I apologize, Bryce.
No, you're good. I was
didn't
letting you
see
guys
it.
get through your thoughts.
Okay, cool. Well, guys,
Too
thank you
bad
so
we had so many.
Yeah, exactly. No,
we go on these wonderful tangents. This is the beauty of long form discussions. We kind of get all over the place. So, hey everybody, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Periodic Review podcast. Hopefully we've earned your subscription today, so don't forget to like and follow and share this wonderful podcast. Again, we apologize to those on Rumble for whatever reason it didn't go through, and we apologize. I don't know why. Hopefully we'll fix that for next time. You can send us all of your topics and article ideas and videos to theperiodicreview@gmail.com. I do look at those, and obviously if it's something that we're really interested in, we will have that on a podcast or one of our videos. And from our family to yours, good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.